Hi everybody, this is Black Rhino Ranger, doing another commentary on my birthday countdown animations I did last year. But before I talk about this video, let me just say that this video will bring up a little bit of something that's a lot different from my previous countdown entries. It's a little bit similar to my 2008 entry, but this time it's a bit more less animated, so to speak. What happened to me in 2021? So, I was addicted to this game called Skylanders Ring of Heroes. For those who don't know, Skylanders of Ring of Heroes was basically a Skylanders game that was developed by Come to Us, which is a South Korean company. It was as of now the last game to be released under the Skylanders brand. Bef- it was when Activision seemingly decided to take a break from making any more Skylanders console games, with Imaginator being currently the last one, and they would focus on making Skylanders and the Skylanders Academy show for Netflix, as well as letting Come to Us make the Skylanders Ring of Heroes game. And then Activision would also focus on, and the developers of Skylanders, Vicarious Visions, and so I have a little something, and Toys for Bob and Beanox would focus on revamping Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon to their classic roots, but for a more modern audience. For example, we have the Insane Trilogy, the Reignited Trilogy, and Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. And while see. When it comes to Ring of Heroes, they had a beta released in 2018, and I did play a little bit of the beta, but I didn't touch that game after. It was only available on Android. There was no iPad version available. So then I had to wait. So then, later the same year, it got released fully, but only in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. But then later it got released in the U.S. in February of 2019, and almost everywhere, except in Malaysia, except much of Asia. I couldn't get my hands on the game, even though it was a game that was developed by a South Korean company, and I'm baffled to why I was not able to get my hands on it. If you know me, big Skylanders fan, I'll play anything that's Skylanders related. So we had to wait and wait. I had to keep waiting until they got the new game to be out. But then they announced that they were going to close the game and revamp it with better structures, better stories, and better summoning of characters. So then we had to wait a bit, and then and then it got released at the end of 2020, and they managed to finally get an Asian release. And I was able to play it, and I was playing it nonstop. I was able to continue, and throughout the entirety of 2021, I was continuously playing it. I was highly addicted to it. I was almost every day I kept playing this game, and hoping to unlock everything. And by the end, I managed to unlock almost and pretty much every character that was available. I was able to upgrade every one of them to Awakening except for one, Starcast. I never managed to do that one in time. So, anyways, they used to keep on play. I kept playing on for a bit, and again. And I also heard that they would try and include their own new Skylanders. They were actually planning to include some new ones, like this one that was bats carrying a Gator Gatling gun, and there was a Mantis with Dark Elemental Mantis with the scissors. Now, unfortunately, it was also the same year Activision Blizzard had a lawsuit for being a quote-unquote frat boys club, where the men have been quite it was like it was almost a men's club, and the women there were not treated very well. They'd been harassed, and one of them unfortunately ended her life because of the employees. And I believe that's when Activision. It was when Activision wasn't very productive at the time, and I think I only remember them releasing one or two games, which is a Call of Duty game, and sadly because of that, Come to Us decided to announce that Ring of Heroes will close down in February of 2022, and and so yeah, and afterwards, the game would cease operations. And I guess Come to Us wanted to distance themselves from Activision Blizzard after what has happened at the time. And but the more I think about it, they basically Skylanders might have dodged a bit of a bullet, because it was when Come to Us was thinking about joining the blockchain and selling NFTs. I'm like, oh, bish. I heard there was something similar with the Olympics, with Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, where Olympics decide to distance from Nintendo and Sega to focus on trying to sell NFTs for the Paris Olympics. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sad to see Ring of Heroes go, but at the same time, it was probably for the best. So, anyways, let's see. You see this bit here? I just decided to do a little bit of a moment here where I had the character, where I have my mascot playing the game, and it has a bit of a animated circle thing. So, what is my most favorite TV cartoon of 2021? Monsters at Work. What? I'm a gigantic Monsters Inc. guy. Monsters Inc., Monsters University, you've seen those as my most favorite films within their respective years. So, Monsters at Work is my most favorite of that year. Focuses on a new monster named, like, my name, was it Tyler or something? And he tries to be a scarab, but he has to try and do some comedy, and he's joined by this one-eyed elephant guy named Fritz, who is voiced by the Fonz himself, Henry Winkler. He's kind of a funny guy, and I find myself really enjoying a lot of these characters. Sure, it's not as good as the movies, but I think it's a nice direction for Pixar, and I believe if it wasn't for this show, we probably wouldn't have other Pixar animated shows like Win or Lose. So I think it was a good start. And season 2 was quite surprising for me. I'm not sure they're going to do a season 3, but I'm hoping they do. Because I think there's still some things they can tell, some more stories they can tell with season 3 of Monsters at Work. I don't think they're ever going to bring Boo back, even though some people want to bring Boo back and have her growing up and stuff, because I think from what I understand, the Pilks who made Pixar said that trying to have Boo grow up and meeting Sully again like that, it's kind of going to ruin the ending. It'll ruin the ending from Monsters, Inc. So they best have Boo, cut off Boo entirely from any sequels or prequels. In fact, we were supposed to have a Monsters, Inc. sequel where they try to find Boo after she moved out, but that got closed, and the studio that was supposed to make that Monsters, Inc. sequel got closed down as well. It was very short-lived. Anyways, one of my honorable mentions, Centaur World. It's a place where a dark and gritty, a character named Horse, who came from a dark and gritty reality with a human who for some reason looks a lot like Korra, and then she ends up in a world full of cartoony centaurs. It's like they're all bouncy and cheery, and they like to break out in song. Yeah, it was short-lived, but I think it was a nice little story arc. Um, Jellystone. C.H. Green, made by C.H. Greenblatt, the same guy who made Shelter and Harvey Beaks, and has a nice. It's basically a nice take on Hanna-Barbera technologies. Yes, the gender swapping can be a little bit questionable at times, but I'm all for it. I think it's to help make the characters a bit more interesting and to help connect to a modern audience. I mean, the more you think about it, the Jellystone, the Hanna-Barbera characters, most of the animal characters were males. Doggy Daddy, Augie Doggy, Yogi Bear, Boo Boo, Yankee Doodle, Grape Ape. Heck, if you watch All Star Laugh Olympics, the Yogi Yahoos only have one female member, Cindy Bear. I mean, the Really Rottens had two female members, Daisy Mayhem and Mrs. Creeply, and the Scooby Doobies have the Teen Angels, the ones who accompany Captain Caveman. So I think it was an all right decision for the Jellystone characters to kind of gender swap. And also, you could argue it's a bit of a nice way to represent transgenders. I don't know. The trans community. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong, if I made some mistakening on that word, but again, I do find some charm in Jellystone, even with these changes. Yeah, I especially like the anime episode. I haven't checked out the crossover yet, but I probably should. Um, the Ghost and Molly McGee. Now, this one was very close to being my most favorite. It nearly took out Monsters at Work as my most favorite. I do like the zaniness and the creativity of the monster world and the way the characters it's all designed and how the ghostly thing powers work and stuff. But unfortunately, there are a few lines from the franchise that kind of make me cringe. I'm sorry. Um, the fact that Ollie goes vegan for the environment. Um, I could talk about why going vegan for the environment is absolute BS. I'm sorry to say, as somebody who's on a carnivore diet and has been learning about how the keto diet works and what is actually a cause for the veganism or saying why the veganism thing for the environment doesn't quite work as a lot of contrary to popular belief. Um, I could talk about more about that on another time, but let's just say that line just really irked me. Um, I don't hate Ollie, I just don't really like that. Yeah, you can go vegan if you like. If you're a vegetarian, that's fine. If you're vegan, that's fine. But to go vegan for the environment is a bit not really. I mean, I understand if you want to be vegetarian or vegan because you don't like the idea of eating animals or you don't like the taste of animals, but again, to have it as an environment for the environment is just. I'm also not a fan of it referencing TikTok. I never really liked that website anyway. TikTok to me is kind of cringe, and I've been warned by my friends to not use TikTok like, because of some social security problems or something like that. And so whenever I think about TikTok, I think about a noise the clock makes, or that crocodile who likes to eat Captain Hook, that robot from Return to Oz, or that song by Keisha, the "Don't Stop, Make It Pop, do 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 do, tick tock on the clock." Yeah, I think those are what I want to think about with TikTok, but not the website. And any show that parodies that website TikTok, it's gonna make me. Yeah, I feel I kind of cringed a bit. Heck, even that Disadventure Camp episode kind of made me cringe a bit, even though I do like that show. And another thing that I'm not too fond of is I'm trying to remember what else did I not like about Molly McGee that prevented it from making it my number one favorite. So it's the TikTok reference, the going vegan for the environment, and oh yeah, there was one line about cryptocurrency. There was one episode where they mentioned something about cryptocurrency, and again, that also made me feel a bit oof. Since we all know that cryptocurrency is a bit of a no-no, especially when it relates to NFTs and the blockchain. I really don't get why Molly McGee had the urge to reference something like that, and it's gonna cause the show to go out of date. With something like the Owl House, whenever I keep coming back to it, it feels quite timeless to me. I feel like it hasn't aged a day. Whenever I keep coming back to it, I feel like I'm still watching it. I can still. It feels like I can. It still feels a bit like today. It doesn't feel 2020s. I mean, it doesn't feel like strictly 2020. It feels like it could have taken place in the 2010s or in the 2020s. Oh heck, it can. I can see. Heck, it has its references to the 90s or 80s even. Um. Anyways, but nevertheless, and I guess Molly McGee's archetype of being the hyperactive, kooky, and over imaginative to girls is getting a little bit stale. I mean, I like Star Butterfly and I like Pinkie Pie, Unikitty, and characters like that. But I will admit, I'm worried that the formula is going to get super stale, and it wasn't my cup of tea with characters like G2 DC Superhero Girls Batgirl. Um. So, but nevertheless, I still like Molly McGee. I just didn't put it as my number one favorite. And finally, this is going to be a very controversial pick: the Patrick Star Show. I thought this was going to be a failure. I thought this was going to be a truly awful cartoon, as most cartoons that focus on the psychic characters more often than not tend to fail. A few exceptions, of course, like Timon and Pumbaa and Penguins of Madagascar, but then you got shows like the Plucky Duck Show that didn't last very long, a Planet Sheen that didn't last very long, and now we have the Patrick Star Show. And some people have been having a problem with Patrick Star, especially in the post-movie pre-sequel seasons. Remember the days when he was like so selfish and he was all... I think that's why a lot of people nickname him Patrick. Like, especially for example, like in the card episode where he holds on to a rare Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy card, and he walks aimlessly into Goo Lagoon, and SpongeBob tells him not to. Say, why do you do that? He's like, SpongeBob, you can't always expect my usual brand of stupidity. I like to mix it up. Keeps you on your toes. And a lot of people say, and basically with that line, it means much of his stupidity was done on purpose. And that's why a lot of people hated Patrick, because of what he said. Not to mention how he keeps milking Squidward out of his ink and ink lemonade, or the time he bought a toy using SpongeBob's money and he keeps hogging the toy even though SpongeBob will also have a bit of it. Trying to think. Feeling no remorse over Squidward and SpongeBob after his sister Sam destroyed their houses, etc. Lots of people were completely against with that in mind, people were almost completely against Patrick. But surprisingly, and also another reason why a lot of people were not too keen on the Patrick Star Show is the fact that they changed the parents' design and they gave him a sister. Even though he already had a sister in Big Sister Sam, even though he had said in a previous episode that he didn't have a sister. It's like, what will my sister think of? Oh, wait a minute, I don't have a sister! So yeah, and yeah, then but surprisingly, the Patrick Star Show is actually pretty funny. And there are definitely some surprising moments in there, like some of the stop motion done by the same guys who made It's a SpongeBob Christmas and the Legends of Boo Bikini Bottom. They were fun to watch. And I thought Patrick Star was going to be about a talk show, but then there's some random craziness happens, and his grandpa is kind of funny. He's voiced by the same guy who played Scratch from Molly McGee and Gazpacho from Chowder. And the father and the mother is kind of funny, and Squidina is also not too bad either. And heck, there are in times it can also surprise me, like the episode where they basically made Bubble Bass the nostalgia critic, and they had an episode where they basically parodies internet criticism. I think they got this idea from one of the writers being harassed by a certain controversial animation reviewer over episodes like The Splinter, One Course Meal, and Pet Sitter Pet, so to speak. And like I said, most spin-off shows focusing on the comic relief tend to last for only about 1, 2, or 3 seasons. Like Planet Sheen only lasted for 1 season, and Plucky Duck only lasted for 1 season, and Timon and Pumbaa lasted for about 2 or 3 seasons. The Patrick Star Show has been renewed for a 5th season, believe it or not. Strange, right? Whether you like SpongeBob or not, or whether you like the spin-offs or not, whether you agree with Hillenberg's original idea that spin-offs are a no-no for him, but it's quite amazing how that show managed to get some success, even though it wasn't really an ideal choice. Yes, I mean, like I said, Pinky Elmire and the Brain was also disliked, and that failed. But Patrick Star Show was disliked at first, but it managed to get an accomplishment of having a new season, 5 seasons. If only the Casagrandes lasted that long. Anyways, so what's my most favorite animated movie of 2021? The Mitchells versus the Machines. A nice way to showcase that maybe we rely way too much on technology, and maybe we should have gone out to the countryside for a bit. I mean, some folks are a bit old-fashioned, but some people rely on new technology, but maybe there are times maybe we can get a little too wrapped up in our technology. And Mitchell's versus the Machines is a great way to showcase a battle between humanity and robots and AI. Like, it also showcases the dangers of having artificial intelligence. Just like the Terminator. Yeah. And the characters are really likable, and I really love the art style they chose. A bit Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse-esque, but also super cartoony. It was originally called Connected, believe it or not, as a bit of a metaphor for both technologically connected or connecting with family, but I think Mitchell's versus the Machines was a way better title. Helps give it some uniqueness. If you're wondering why shows had to have such short titles, you can blame the marketing team on Disney. When Princess and the Frog got the long title, kids were just not interested, or it didn't attract a lot of little boys. So when he went with Tangled, which is short and gender neutral, that became more successful than Princess and the Frog. And almost every film tries to be only uses short words for titles like Sing or Scoob or Frozen or Luca or Soul or Onward, etc. It's sad but true. Anyways, what are my honorable mentions? Encanto. A nice look at Colombian culture, nice use of magic. In fact, the magic aspect kind of reminds me a bit of Little Miss Magic in a sense, with the house and stuff, and showcases a character who doesn't have a special gift, but everybody else does. But she is willing to help people out a bit. I think it's a bit of a metaphor for somebody with a disability, while the rest of the family is kind of normal or something, but neurologically, some shame or something like that. I don't know. They they so basically, Encanto is about you don't need be to have a special gift to be helpful or something like that, and sometimes, and also, don't pressure your family. Let them be a happy family, okay? And I really love the songs, especially "We Don't Talk About Bruno, no, no, our do stop, oh whoa, the Madrigal." Raya and the Last Dragon. A nice attempt for Disney to do some representation of Southeast Asian culture. Southeast Asia is, of course, where I live in, Malaysia. Not just Malaysia, but also a bit of Indonesian, a bit of Vietnam, and a bit of other places in Southeast Asia. While I wouldn't say it's the best way to represent Southeast Asian culture, I do think it's a nice start. And I do hope they do something like that again in a future day. Maybe not a sequel to Raya, but maybe for something new. Who? I mean, and speaking of which, there is a series of shorts, Mickey Mouse shorts, made in Malaysia, focusing on Mickey Mouse in Malaysian cultures. It's called Mickey Go Loco. Check it out. It has Mickey Mouse and Donald making some roti canai and satay, which is like chicken skewers. They make kaya, which is like coconut jam. They encounter an orangutan, even though that's East Malaysian animal, as orangutans are extinct in Western Malaysia, etc. So there is that. You can check it out, as they are available on Disney Plus. And again, Raya is a nice is a nice way to represent Southeast Asian culture. I would have liked a bit more, and probably not as many mythological references, but nevertheless, it's a start. Luca. Admittedly, I didn't like the idea of watching this movie because I was a little bit paranoid of getting on the wetness and the skin with how the transformations, like on dry land they're human, but in the water they're a bit scale. Because ever since I watched a Disney Channel movie about a mermaid and stuff like that, it's not The Little Mermaid, it's a live action one about the mermaid where this kid was born on land and thing. The more I think about it, I feel a bit ill just thinking about it. I don't know why. Every time I think about that movie, I just feel a bit sick. And when I saw the Luca transformation thing, I was actually feeling a bit ill trying to look at it. So I basically had to cuddle. Something. Let me just cuddle my crocodile for comfort. And my trigger happy. Sorry, I just need to cuddle something just to comfort myself because. Don't worry. Do not worry. I am here. I am here. Thanks, Trig. So yeah, I didn't like the idea of how the transformations work, but nevertheless, I still like the Luca film. I think it was like a metaphor for coming out or something. As some people say that they're kind of LGBTQIA plus coded, even though they're not explicitly shown like that. But it's something. And finally, the Loud House movie. Shortly after the show premiered, they were announcing that they were going to make a movie, especially during Chris Savino's days. But of course, there was a bit of delays on that, and of course, Chris Savino got fired. Well, because you probably know why. So it had us in question whether or not the movie is going to be made. At one point, we were supposed to have it in cinemas, but then Nickelodeon pulled the plug on that, and it seemed that the Loud House movie was perhaps canceled. But then, later, Nickelodeon announced that the Loud House movie will instead be picked up for Netflix. And I was delighted. And when I watched the movie, it might have jumped the shark a little bit with the magic and mythological references and the ghosts and the dragons thing. But I still think it's a solid movie, and it has a nice way to showcase David Tennant and also showcase the Loud House's heritage, like they were from Scotland years ago. And I do I will question why the ghosts, the characters, the ancestors chose to stay in that age. Did they die young, or did they not grow? Weren't they supposed to be grown up or something? If they're ghosts, like how did it? I mean, aren't they supposed to be the ancestors of the Loud kids and stuff? I don't know. It's all confusing. It's also in. It had some nice guest appearances of David Tennant and Billy Boyd, who played one of the hobbits of I'm trying to think. What was it? Lord of the Rings. And here's a fun fact: another actor from Lord of the Rings also had an appearance in The Loud House. Sean Astin, the actor for Samwise, he played Lenny's male counterpart Lonnie in the episode One of the Boys. He was mostly casted because they wanted to bring in the 2012 Ninja Turtles cast to voice the Loud brothers. Anyways, I do think it's a fine movie, but again, I think it would have they could have loosened a bit on the mythological and mystical references. I mean, Chris Savino himself wanted it to be a bit more down to earth, but nevertheless, I still think it's a solid movie. Okay, and okay, so unfortunately for me, I haven't played a lot of video games in 2021. Like I said, it's the same year that Activision Blizzard got a lawsuit, and the Activision Blizzard got a lawsuit, and I don't think they were able to put out that many games. And I also wasn't able to grab onto many games at that time. Now, here's a law: when I made my videos, I don't count any of the mobile games. I only count whatever's available on the PlayStation, the PlayStation consoles, the Xbox consoles, the PC, and the Nintendo consoles, and that's about it. The mobile games do not count. So, because of my limited, I only played 3 games released in 2021. My most favorite is, of course, Jurassic World Evolution 2, a worthy sequel to the first Jurassic World Evolution game. You can finally get to have flying reptiles like Pteranodon and the Tropheonathus, formerly known as the Brazilian Ornithochirus, and the swimming ones like the Mosasaurus, the Liplorodon, and the Ichthyosaurus. And there are also other types of customizations. As of now, it has the largest amount of dinosaurs, with 122 altogether, plus a few non-dinosaurs that were around before them, like the Dunkleosteus, the fish, the Dimetrodon synapsid, the Lystrosaurus synapsid, and the Megalodon, which came out millions of years after the meteor struck the Earth, over 60 million years ago. I plan to do something big with the Jurassic World Evolution 2. Hopefully before Jurassic World Evolution 3 gets announced, or before Jurassic World Rebirth happens. Maybe I'll do something as a bit of a countdown to that. So anyways, what is my most favorite... what are my honorable mentions? Like I said, aside from Revolution 2, I only played 2 games made in 2021. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawls. A Super Smash Bros-like game focusing on the SpongeBob, focusing on the cartoon characters. May not be good as Smash, but I think it's a lot better than Punch Time Explosion, which is Cartoon Network's attempt. And you get to play as, not only that, you get to play as SpongeBob with fighting against Lincoln Loud, Korra, Danny Phantom, and many others. And it's really fast-paced and nice thing. Fast-paced, very easy to maneuver, and I like this game more than I like the sequel. I'm just being honest. I like it more than the sequel. I do think the voice acting add-on thing was a bit of a last-minute decision, and some of it was a little bit underwhelming because they wanted to get this over with quick. But it was done in a response by fans, but I do understand why they had to do it. And it does, and I do appreciate they are trying to appeal to some fan service. And the other game I played in 2021 is Ratchet & Clank Ripped Apart. As of now, this is the final Ratchet & Clank game, and it's a nice way to showcase he's not that how you can play as Ratchet, but also as Rivet. And I'm still playing it right about now. I haven't gone through the levels yet, but I will do so when I have the time. And right now, I'm loving almost every minute of it. Will they make a new Ratchet & Clank game when PS6 comes out? I don't know. They're currently in fact, I think Sony wants its gaming developers to focus on human-like games. Like Naughty Dog is busy with Intergalactic Heretic and remastering The Last of Us again and again and again. And Sucker Punch Production, I'm not sure what they're doing right about now. They're not doing anything Sly Cooper related. And Insomniac Games, they're focusing on Spider-Man stuff, I guess. So, now I do have 2 extra games with me that I got from 2021, but I haven't played them yet. The Guardians of the Galaxy game and Nintendo and the new Pokemon Snap. I will get to them, hopefully. But aside from that, that's all I got that's gaming related for 2021, not counting the mobile games like Ring of Heroes, which was released in 2020. So anyways, why is this animation different from my previous countdown animations? Well, it's because, believe it or not, it's not animated. It's live action. Here I am. Now, a lot of people have been telling me I have a bald spot right here. Yes, I said this before. My hair is thinning a bit. And no need for you to say, bald, my eyes! I just want people to stop talking about that. Maybe I am acting like King Neptune, but I really wish people would stop commenting about my bald spot. Please. I don't wear a hat very often because my head feels quite itchy. I'm trying my daring hardest to try and keep as much hair as I can with as many products as I can. If that doesn't work, it'll eventually fall off, and I will have to ask for a shave unless I want to look like Albert Einstein. And yes, in case you're wondering, why was that mattress doing something? It was being changed. It was being changed, but we didn't have enough time to truly change it because again we were going to England at the time. So also to make sure I don't go with having some copyright problems, I'm not gonna play the clips. I'm just gonna do a bit of a freeze frame. So here's my way to incorporate my most favorite TV show, movie, or games. I just watch it on my television. I have a Disney Plus, so I was playing a small clip of I was playing a small clip of Monsters at Work, the first episode with Fritz, and I said it was really funny, and that, and I got a comment, and the person who sent me and it's basically a letter. I got a letter email from Mr. Dimension Incognito. How are you after the coronavirus emergency? I may have said I've said this in my previous commentary, but COVID was not fun. When I had it, it was not fun. But thankfully, I managed to recover with minimal damage. And here's a clip of Mitchell's versus the Machines, my most favorite of 2021. And I said maybe it was a commentary on AI. So what was the Mr. Dimension Incognito's favorite show that year? What was their experience? His experience. So his favorite show, of course, is The Ghost of Molly McGee. So I did this in the style of emojis. I did the profile. I took his profile picture, and I took out a heart emoji, and I got this Ghost of Molly McGee emojis from a website. I don't know which website it was, but I got it from a website. So, like I said, I've already explained why Molly McGee I still do like, but it isn't my most favorite. So, moving right along, and I found myself, and here I am playing Jurassic World Evolution 2. Now, this one I don't mind playing a bit because, it's very video game copyrights are very rare. So, here's a shark here, and here's the Mosasaurus eating a shark. I had to wait a long time for that moment to happen. And I did say I'll probably do something about Jurassic World Evolution when I have the time. So and then I decided to showcase the present that the person wanted, that the person Mr. Dimension Incognito's request to draw Molly McGee looking like she's an undead portal master, a portal master of the undead. So I had to really think about it. Since the portal masters in Skylanders Ring of Heroes, they had this they had this weird thing around their necks, and a lot of their designs are a bit attributed to their elements. Like Bruno is a tech element, so he's got a bit of tech parts of his attire, and there was Oscar, who has a little baby whale representing that he's a water element. There's George, who has a bit of earth around him, and he has the ability to make a rock shield for his Skylanders. And this girl named Eugene, she's an air portal master, and she has the ability to up their invasive stuff. And this I think it was a fire. This fire girl, I think her name was Rial, and she has the ability to did she cause a bit of damage or give the damage boost to the Skylanders? And the life elemental girl portal master is Adriana, who I think gives off a bit of a shielding boost or attacks the enemy. I don't know. So unfortunately, there wasn't one for the magic or the undead before the game closed down. So again, I had to try and think. So I thought about that skull thing, which I may have gotten from, which I might have gotten from the way Splat looks. The Splat, the fawn Skylander of the magic element, or Skeletor or something. And the feet are based on rhinoceros skulls. Fun fact, rhinoceros horns are not made of bone, they're made of hair. And when you cut them off, they'll grow back. But I would strongly advise against cutting them off, because they're endangered. And they'll need those horns to defend their child and to test their strength. So fellas, I must remind you, do not have rhinos as medicine. They are not medicine. Protect them at all costs. Showcase to the world that The rhino horns as medicine is the most idiotic myth that should die. What, I love rhinos so much. Why else would I name myself Black Rhino Ranger? So yeah, that's my commentary on 2021. I only got 2 more days. I only got 2 more animations to go, and I'll wrap them up. I hope you've enjoyed this video.